Well, good morning to all of you, and it is a good morning. Look, sunrise again. And the good news for you guys is I learned how to color my roots. That was my big my big learning for a lifelong learner. My colorist did a Zoom with me and taught me how to color my roots because it was looking so bad. I told her, don't worry, I'm not going to hang out a shingle. I can't wait till you come back. And then my son taught me to how to get rid of my fruit fly farm, which was a big deal, which was taking an old Pepsi bottle, or he did wine, but I don't have a bottle of wine to open up and give away to my fruit flies. And you just take the bottle with something that's fermented and some water, like I put a banana in there, it was an old 7-Up bottle, fill it up, make a cone of paper, put it in there, put whatever's fermenting in the water, and guess what, this morning. So, hey, things are really great.
That's pretty awesome.
It's, what can I tell you? Lifelong learners, we're just always doing it. So I thought maybe while I'm saying hello, if everybody wants to put in some great thing that they learned in the last week, now that you know that all the great things that I did. And I wanted to welcome you all and say hello and tell you thank you for coming. And so here we are, a month into it, I think. Anyway, remember to look at our Positive Mornings page, where anything that the wonderful Wendy and Dana talk about today, we will post all those links and resources for you. We'll post them in the chat too as we go, but it'll all be on the Positive Mornings page in CoveyClub.com, so you can just look it up that way. And we'll try to keep you up to date. I ordered a couple of the books that the ladies talked about. Of course, that was a month ago. Do I have the books? No, but eventually I will get them at some point. So the good news is it will be coming. So anyway, I'm going to turn this over to you guys. I just want to see what people have learned. Cynthia's learned to sew face masks. Awesome. That's incredible. One of the things I was doing very early on was collecting what's called PPE, which is the personal protective equipment down here. And one of the things that I was concerned about is even in New York, the fashion industry was not jumping in. Why? I have no idea. They should have been on that the first day that Cuomo called out for it. Anyway, so the great news is we pushed a bunch of people to get the guy who runs the CFDA to start waking up and doing something. Anyway, so he posted a video today, which was great, about the face masks that they're making. So there are all kinds of good things. I learned how to fill a hole in my ceiling. See, look what we're learning. Susan learned how to make a tarte tatin. Okay, so everybody can look. Here, look at this. Look at everything we're learning. This is absolutely amazing. I learned how to make matzah, but did a terrible job at it. I sucked at icing when I did my cake class. I did a professional cake class. I was the worst icing person. If you stay at it, you will be the best matzah person. I promise you. It took me, and now I can make a professional cake in an hour. So there you go. Anyway, so I'm going to shut up and I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful, fabulous coaches this morning. And we'll catch up with you at the end. All right, Wendy and Dana, it's all yours.
Good morning, everyone. I love seeing all of the familiar faces back on Positive Mondays, and some new ones too. That's exciting. Today, our topic is part 2 of joy and learning to focus on joy. In our last call, we started talking about the 8 pillars of joy, and we ran through perspective, humility, humor, and acceptance. And today we're going to talk about forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. We also shared a tool with you on our last call about learning how to recognize and manage your own energy, what you're taking in and putting out. And that tool is available for you on the Positive Mornings page. And with that, I'm going to give you over to Dana.
All right, ladies, good morning. So just so you know, that the pillars of joy that we're talking about are from a book called The Book of Joy by Desmond Tutu and Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. So these are the 8 pillars that we're talking about. And as Wendy mentioned, today we'll be talking about forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. So first, I just wanted to give a little prelude, very similar to what I did last time, because it's so important to repeat, actually, is very much of our happiness is based on what we choose to focus on in our moments, in our days, in our weeks, because what we choose to focus on really dictates our experience in life. It dictates our reality. And of course, if we choose to focus like a laser beam on the news that's happening at every second of every day, that is where our head is going to go, and that is where we're going to be acting out of. And that's going to be a very different place than if we choose to focus on the things that are happening that are good in light of what is going on. Many of us in our conversations have talked about the things that we've really enjoyed in this time, despite the challenge, right? A lot of us have enjoyed further connection with our loved ones, more cooking, more hiking, learning new things. So there's all these beautiful things that are coming out of this experience, in addition to the challenges, to the fears that we're facing. And so the whole ability to be super intentional in our moments about what we choose to focus on. You've heard me mention the quote by Viktor Frankl probably a couple times now, but to me, it bears repeating. He says, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So what we keep talking about in our positive mornings is that ability to cultivate that space where we remember that we have a choice of what we want to focus on, of who we want to be, of what we want to do, that we have this choice. And unfortunately, about 40% of our human actions are based on habit. So remembering you have a choice is a super powerful move forward, right? Because we need to get ourselves out of habit and be intentional. And being intentional means that we need to create that space. We need to create that pause, which means we need to be present in what is happening at this moment enough that we can create that space. So that's what we're talking about, is what are you going to do in that space? And today we're talking about 4 of those things: forgiveness and generosity and gratitude and compassion. So the first thing we wanted to talk about is forgiveness. And forgiveness is actually very interesting, because a lot of times we think if we forgive somebody, it's about that person. More often than not, the true benefit of forgiveness is giving yourself peace, right? A lot of times we can't completely forget what happened in the past, but we can forgive. And when we forgive, we can create some peace for ourselves. Usually when we hold on to resentment or we hold on to anger, there's kind of a power that we get from that. And we like to roll around in that power. But at the end of the day, it's hurting ourselves. So we want to kind of hone in on some of the things that might be showing up for you as it relates to forgiveness. And Wendy has a question that she's going to share with everybody.
So a lot of you have been with us for several sessions, and we're going to go right in for the big question when it comes to forgiveness. Who or what are you holding a space of blame for in your life that is draining or detracting from your energy, from your ability to be your best self?
And as always, this is a little more of a personal question. Of course, if you're willing to put it in the chat, we'd love to see your thoughts on this. And as always, put me in the chat if you'd like to chime in, because we'd love to hear a couple of voices on this.
And it's okay. We all have those spaces of blame, those people or those groups of people that we are so angry with.
Oftentimes, when we hold that space of blame, it ends up being our excuse, right? Our excuse as to why we can't do something. But when we can release that, when we can let that go, not only are you giving yourself peace, but now you can move forward. Now you can move forward.
Okay, so there's a lot of personal ones in here. Who my daughter married, my mother is one. Katie says,
Forgiving myself.
yeah, more than one. I hate blaming because I know that it's my choice and it determines my well-being. That's so true, Katie. It's so true. It really, blame sucks the life out of us. It depletes us of our energy, and it depletes us of our opportunity to make a difference in the very areas that are most important to us. When we harbor blame, okay, and somebody just asked me to repeat the question. So the question is, who or what out there do you harbor some blame for right now? And that blame is detracting from your energy. An ex-business partner. I'm going to ask for a show of hands. Does everybody know how to use their little reactions in the space bar at the bottom of the thing? You can give me a thumbs up if you harbor some blame for a group or organization of people out there who are handling or mishandling the situation with coronavirus. Give me a thumbs up if you feel that way. There's a lot of thumbs, right? Mm-hmm. Bridget's giving us a physical one. Thank you, Bridget. There are a lot of thumbs, and these are difficult conversations to have because the reality is people behave in ways that affect other people across the board. Everything you do, everything I do, everything they do, whoever they are, affects other people. We have a ripple effect. And depending on the seat that we sit in on the bus, that ripple has a larger and larger impact. And when we feel that we are at the mercy of the ripple, we blame. Okay? And so as we look through this chat, in addition to all the thumbs up that we saw for, yeah, I have some blame for people who are managing the crisis in the world right now, the names that are coming up are people who are closest in our families, parents. Someone said the person my daughter married, right? People who have an impact, a big impact on the ripple of your life. It's so easy to harbor blame for. And here's the thing about forgiveness. When you forgive, as Jana said, you don't have to forget. Forgiveness does not mean agreement. Forgiveness does not mean rolling over and playing dead. Forgiveness does not mean giving up what you value or what you want an outcome to be. Forgiveness means understanding that all humans come from a space of protecting that which they value and love. Forgiveness means that all humans come from this space of wanting to be seen and heard and accepted. And when we can see all humans on an even playing field like that, we're capable of forgiving them. And with forgiveness, guess what you get back, sisters? You get your personal power. With forgiveness, you are able to see all opportunity. With forgiveness, you're able to see all possibility. And you are able to take action in places that you haven't been able to take in the past. So we have a number of people who are talking about forgiveness, self-forgiveness, which is super important and probably the most impactful kind of blame that we hold in our lives, and it's self-blame. I'm wondering if any of the people who put self-forgiveness in would like to put a me in the chat and share a bit of your story with us. What does blaming yourself stop you from getting or having or feeling? Is there anybody who'd be willing to chat with about that? Katie says the definition of forgiveness is the all humans, is that both parties of the equation? Yes.
And Robin, I see that
Robin
like,
said she'll talk. Yeah, Robin, let's hear what you have to say.
Sure, this is a topic near and dear to my heart. Yeah, I mean, my mantra is come back to love. And I just think that when we're blaming ourselves and we're not loving ourselves fully, that it really impacts everything. I think it impacts relationships of all kinds. I think it impacts the work that we do and how much, money we're able to create if that's what we want. I think it impacts our health, which especially now is, vital. Well, all these things are vital, but I feel like it really at the core impacts a lot of things in our lives, and it's hard to recognize them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Robin.
yeah,
And Katie, do you want to open up your mic and ask your question? I'm not really sure.
So the forgiveness, when I asked if it's both parties of the equation, when you say all humans come from a space of wanting to be seen, heard, being accepted, is that the person that you're blaming, or is that you? Or, I mean, are you supposed to use that mindset for the person you're blaming?
Yeah,
or they're just a disaster and we have, I'm sorry.
No, it's hard to sort it, right? It's hard to sort it. But yeah, when we say all humans, we really mean all humans. And again, because especially on this call, we've had a couple of conversations about narcissism and a couple of actual psychiatric illnesses. That's not what we're talking about here. There are some places where people are mentally incapable of empathy. But in the case of all humans with a normal functioning brain, all humans act on behalf of their own desire to protect that which they believe is right, to protect that which they love, and to foster what they see as good and valuable.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, those things that we see as good and valuable are often different. And so we clash and we fight, right?
Right.
And this is not to say that those clashes are not important. They are important. It's how we figure stuff out as humans. But when we can do it from a place of understanding, of positive intent and forgiveness, we have a lot more personal power and we have a lot more energy.
one thing I wanted to chime in on too, we're going to talk about compassion later in today's conversation. But for those of you that are having a hard time forgiving yourself, there's a role for self-compassion, right? And self-compassion is being able to speak to yourself like you would to a friend. So for those of you that are having a challenging time forgiving yourself, or maybe you're blaming yourself, ask yourself, what would my best friend tell me? And what would I tell my best friend, right? And to be able to take that in and to talk to yourself in the same kind of way. Also, and this is in the work of Christina Neff, who has a book called Self-Compassion, if you're interested. She talks about being able to hold a place of curiosity and to see what happened out of a place of curiosity without judging, right? So a lot of things happen in our life, and some of those things that we're talking about that perhaps you may blame or carry around as a heavy burden. I see Susan sharing that, absolutely. But if you can just hold a place of curiosity, no judgment, no blame, what happened? What can I learn from it? What worked? What didn't work? What do I want to take from this situation and bring into the next situation that's similar so that I can do it better next time around, right? So again, not judging, not blaming, but looking at it so you can learn from it and being curious about it. And that's a really core part of being able to move forward.
And the more that you play with that curiosity, that looking at interaction from that point of positive intent, you'll be astounded at what comes out of those conversations. You'll be astounded at how the emotion and the anger just starts to melt backward when you come to a conversation with positive intent, without blame and without judgment. So
I wanted to highlight what Liz shared, because I think it's beautiful. She says that someone said, you cannot control what others do, but you can control how you let it affect you. Absolutely. Which has been a guiding principle for my forgiveness. And that's absolutely true. Again, we have the ability to decide, how are we going to let this impact us? What is the story that we're going to create in our head? We spent a whole session talking about the narratives that we create, right? How can I look at this situation, which quite frankly might really suck, but how can I look at it and decide, okay, I'm going to make a choice. That's an intentional choice about how I'm going to move forward in the most empowering way, right? We always have that ability to choose. How are we going to let it impact us? And what are the actions that we're going to take as a result of it? And hopefully it's not blame, or hopefully we're able to let go of some of that blame so we can move forward in a better way. Because blame is just going to keep you anchored, keep you sucked down.
And our next pillar today is gratitude. And we're going to come at gratitude from that same angle of the self. Right? We blame ourselves so much. We're so hard on ourselves. So we're going to ask you to answer the question, what about you specifically are you most grateful for? Lots of you, I'm sure, have leaned into gratitude in this difficult time. I'm sure many of you keep gratitude journals, and I guarantee you most of the things in those gratitude journals are external to you. So I'd like to ask the question, what about you specifically are you most grateful for? Deborah says resilience. Bridget, I'm still here. Right on, sister. Pragmatism, humor.
Resourcefulness, empathy, persistence, curiosity. Beautiful. Emotional agility, ability to be open, perseverance, creativity. So much gratitude. I can't read that fast for all the tools that I've been doing all these years, and now I'm using more of them than ever. Fabulous, Carol.
All right, I'm going to ask someone to have really, really big guts this morning and put a me in here to tell us something good about you, not something you're afraid of, not something you need help on. Carol Jackson, thank you. Let's hear it.
Unmute. Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is our yeah, I live alone. I'm 52. I'm single. I've never been married. I don't have kids. And so many people are like so worried about me. Like, you live alone. You have you and your cat. Like, oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for you. You never had kids. And it's like, I always was so sad about it. And this, for the first time in my life, I'm like, I'm okay, guys. I've been doing all these tools forever. The meditation, the yoga, the self-help books, my therapist, my knowing that really all of us are alone in our own minds, in our own skins. Even if you have all of that around you, you're still alone, right? Like within your own thoughts. And nobody else can bring you happiness. And this is like driven this home for me so much that not a job, not a big home, not a, husband, kids, it's all within your own thoughts. And like every day I wake up with such gratitude that I have my health and that I have a job, I have a roof over my head. And now it drove it home more than anything. Like, I'm okay. Like, I don't need a husband and kids to be happy. So I'm like profoundly like thriving in this, and everyone else is shocked. They're like, oh, okay. Like in their own mindset and societal pressures, I think, has put that on me. Like, you should be married by now. You should have this. And it's like, really? Well, I think everything happens for a reason in life. And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Oh,
Brava, Carol.
I
Thank
say
you.
you gave me
I just
chills.
like, I need to tell other people this, because if anyone else is struggling with being single or living alone right now, give me a call. Like, I'll give you 1,000 things that I'm doing. I'll share one more thing, and I'm sorry to monopolize this, but I think this is really going to be helpful for everyone. I was listening to a therapist on NPR yesterday, and they said it was all about people living alone or who are alone. Maybe you're coupled, but you're living alone right now. And there were 4 M's. It was mindfulness that we all talk about. So at least 10 minutes of mindfulness of just sitting. Movement, move your body. Meaningful connections, which we're doing. And then mastery. And you guys talk about all this stuff. Mastery, it could be journaling. It could be gardening. It could be cooking. Doesn't matter. But she also really stressed to not put so much pressure on yourselves that it has to be perfect. Because everyone's like, oh, I have all this time now. I was supposed to be writing my book. I guess I should write my book, or I should declutter every single closet. It's like, no, just do things that bring you joy. If it brings you joy to declutter, then do it. But don't put pressure on yourself. Like everything has to be done during this, quarantine time. Just whatever brings you joy. And I'll add one more M though, music. For me, I dance by myself in my place all the time. So I love music. So anyway.
Thank you, Carol. I love
great
it.
perspectives. Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
And I love Heloise just put in the chat that when we talk about that negative voice, she says, I used to imagine putting tape over the mouth of the voice in my head to shut it up.
That's awesome.
Love it. Love it. Earlier in the thread, Bridget talked about how we think about the things that people have said to us over the years, our mothers or whomever, and the negative voice stays in our head. And we realize that no one is ever as cruel to us as we are to ourselves. And we would never treat anyone as cruelly as we treat ourselves. Dana just put the 4 M's in there if anybody wants to grab those and jot those down. Those are great. Anybody else want to share? One more. Let's get one more of you telling us how wonderful you are. Something about you that you're truly grateful for. Come on, ladies.
I would say I saw a lot of great traits in there.
No one else wants to share? I'm not going to give up. Don't make me call on you.
She will,
I will. Here it comes. And it's Andrea Weinreb. I want to hear something that is magnificent about you, Andrea.
How'd you know I wanted to say me, but I'm just like tired today. I guess it's so hard. It sounds, you feel like you're bragging. I mean, I think my greatest strength is just how much I care about people. Like I sit down at breakfast and I say to my husband, your aunt so-and-so is doing really well now. He goes, how do you know? I said, because I called her. And all of a sudden, I do this after, I have like an echo. I do this after, not only during this time, but my mother-in-law passed away 2 years ago, and she was in her early 90s, and she was a dynamo. She was president of a synagogue until the day she died. And everyone in the family looked at me and they said, you're by no means the oldest. You don't cook a lot. I don't even know what cleaning means, but you just became the matriarch of the family. And it was like a title I had. So I just think that I'm sitting here now and I'm listening to everything for the past 5-6 weeks about reinvention. He says, my husband, if I could go back to school tomorrow, become like a social worker, I would. Like I have lymphedema and I'm reaching out to every person I know to make sure they're doing okay. So you guys are going to help me figure out what I could do when I grow up and take my dumb advertising background and mush it with what I really want to do something. So.
Thank
but I knew you were going to
Andrea.
call on me because you could tell I was going to. But I'm like,
I could tell. I could see it in your eyes. Thank you for sharing. And you know what? It's why we don't want to share. Exactly what Andrea said. We feel like we're bragging. You're not bragging. Be grateful for those qualities in yourself. They're really important.
Thank you.
I also want to add too that the qualities in yourself that come most naturally to you, that are your kind of rock star qualities, are really, really difficult for somebody else. Not everybody has the qualities that you have. And I think, this is related to our strengths, right? I think a lot of us completely take for granted what we're good at. And we just think that everybody has it. And it's just so not true. So to step into that and say, you know what? I am really loving and really compassionate. You know what? I've got an amazing perspective. And I saw creativity there. And I saw a whole list of beautiful qualities. Those are things that not everybody has. And so lean into them, right?
Could I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
I think also it's like resilience. I had the year from hell in 1991. I gave birth to a 10.5-pound baby, which was wonderful. I was diagnosed with cancer at birth. And my oncologist told me that I would feel fabulous exactly 2 months later. So I memorized February 10th. And in the morning of February 10th, my 64-year-old mother, who's my age, had a headache and died of a brain embolism. So and then I'd see people and they would say to me, how are you? And I would say, I'm okay. And I'm still not okay, but I was okay because I was blessed with what I had. I had a newborn baby that I schlepped around with me everywhere. And, so I think that people feel sorry for themselves too often. And I do often because I have a lot to feel sorry for, but it's like, I think you have to just keep going and realize you're luckier than the next person.
Yeah.
I'm here. And my baby is sitting in the other room and she's 28, so it's all good.
Beautiful.
By the way, Andrea, you were kind of the perfect segue to our next conversation, and that is compassion, right? Compassion, that ability to feel for another person, right? To be with them, to feel with them. And I think compassion is probably showing up a fair amount nowadays, right? Because we probably know some people that are going through difficult situations and through illness. So how is compassion showing up for you at this time? Where are you seeing compassion? And as always, put your thoughts in the chat. And if you'd like to chime in, we'd love to call upon you. Put me in the chat room. Where do you see compassion? And this could be compassion that you're experiencing. This could be compassion that you're seeing in other people. Compassion that you've received. Calling lots of people to check on them. Yeah.
Bridget Brown, what have you got for us?
Right.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say. I had 2 surprise phone calls out of the blue yesterday of people just checking in on me to see how I'm doing. One was a woman that we've only met twice. She was helping me with a project that got canceled because of the pandemic. And she just said, I've been thinking about you. And so I thought I'd pick up the phone and call. And I had about 7 other people text me yesterday just to check in. And it was just I like Carol, live by myself. And so it was just really nice because it doesn't happen as often as it should. I don't do it for other people as often as it should. And, hopefully that's going to be one of the silver linings of this pandemic is that we think of someone we haven't talked to in a while and we take the time to sit down and pull up the phone and call.
Yeah. And don't you love the actual pull up the phone and call? I feel like nowadays we have to ask somebody by text, when can I call you? It's like, just pick up the damn phone, right? Isn't that just a beautiful thing? Yeah.
So something interesting about compassion that popped up both with Carol and with Andrea. Sometimes we mask compassion for other people as pity, right? And pity takes power away from people. Pity makes things smaller, but compassion is a gift. It makes things bigger. So when you feel sorry for someone, you actually kind of shrink them. Whereas if you just reach out with compassion and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I see you as whole and awesome, but I'm thinking about you. Completely different than I feel sorry for you.
Christy, you have a beautiful perspective on what was happening. You were seeing shopping here, shopping during the pandemic. I'd love to bring your story into the room if we could. Do you feel comfortable if you can unmute your mic and share with us what you were experiencing?
Hi. Yeah, I just found, so I went 3 weeks without shopping, but when I went at the very beginning of everything, I seen a lot of people doing the hoarding and being rude to each other. And it was actually, I still feel emotional thinking about it. I felt really sad for everybody behaving that way, because I could tell it was coming from a place of having no trust or faith in their own resourcefulness or ability to get by. And I barely made it through my shopping trip. I could just, I don't know, it was like I could hear everybody screaming from inside. So Lucinda Williams, the song Compassion, if you haven't heard it, you should listen to it. It's actually her father's words that he wrote as a poem. That's been my mantra. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed by people being angry, I kind of just sing that to myself and remember that those people are actually in a really scary place. That's why they're behaving that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Christy. That's beautiful and so true. We behave badly when we are afraid. Everyone does. We are at our worst when we are afraid. And Lucy Brummett has something for us on compassion. Lucy. Can you unmute? You're not mute. Oh, there we go.
Lucy? Maybe she can't hear us.
Oh, she says sorry. Okay. Anybody else? Something on compassion? Christy gives us a perfect example of feeling other people's fear and instead of blaming, offering compassion. It quiets things down. Jean Stefanski.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
You were just talking about something that about the fact that people feel compassion and not sorry for people, and that is a very difficult thing for me to separate. I find that I see the need in people, and then I almost feel guilty if I don't, spend time reaching out to them. And in a sense, it's almost exhausting to me. And it does come from a place where I say, I'm better off than you are, and I feel so sorry for you. And it puts more guilt on me. I came from an Italian family where guilt, was everybody's middle name. And so I apply that to every action, I think, and I apply it to compassion. I don't know how to separate those two things.
Okay. I am so glad you brought that up, Jean. I am so down with that. As a matter of fact, that's why I'm so passionate about that particular version of compassion, because I grew up in an Italian family too, and everything was, oh, Meschina, oh, poor thing, oh, poor thing, oh, the poor thing, oh, everything came from that place. Yeah. And we were trained that pity was one of the ways that we show love, through pity. If you don't pity someone, you don't love enough. And there's a guilt ring in there, right? And so it's so hard to recognize these things that are cultured into us and that are mixed up, like pity and compassion and love. And the way that I did it, the distinction that made it possible for me, Jean, to separate the two was to flip it, was to say, what does it feel like when somebody pities me or feels badly for me or feels sorry for me? Does it feel like love? No, it doesn't.
No.
Never does, right? When somebody feels sorry for us, it makes us feel small. It makes us feel judged. it could make us feel blamed. It never expands us. It never feels like love.
Right.
And so by flipping it, you can realize then, okay, if it were me, how would I want to be responded to? What would make me feel loved and seen in this situation? And then you just flip it right back. And that's the way you behave outwardly. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's a great way to approach it. Yeah, thank you, Wendy.
We Italian girls are very loving, but there's a lot of weight hanging on that love that we have to just snip away.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for chiming in, Jean. I think that's an important fact.
And our last topic is generosity. So this is a time, I think, when we're probably seeing and witnessing, maybe experiencing a lot of generosity. And generosity is really about giving, and it's about kindness. And for those of you that aren't familiar, there's a beautiful book called The Kindness Diaries, and there was actually a Netflix special of the same name. And if you're interested in watching this, I'd recommend it. The host got a little annoying at times for me, but nonetheless, I love the premise of the show. And what he talked about, what he did, is he went around the world, and he went around the world with only a motorcycle and no money. And he relied on the kindness of strangers to get around the world. And so he makes his way around the world, and even, spending time with people that were extremely poor, people that were homeless. And he would see this unbelievable amount of kindness and generosity that people gave to him, even when they were going through really, really difficult times. Now, as a silver lining to the show, what he did is in every country, he would choose one person who exhibited an unbelievable act of kindness, and he would reciprocate and do something that would change their life. So the premise of the show was absolutely beautiful, but it really underscored how kindness and how generosity is, of course, an act for the person that you are giving it to, but it's also something that has such a beautiful benefit to you and really elevates your happiness. And so we'd love to just know for yourself, this is really just sharing stories. What is it that you're seeing as it relates to generosity, to kindness, to people giving to one another? What are you seeing in this time that we're going through today?
Just like the ripples of blame can deplete our energy, the ripples of sharing the stories of helping and of generosity and of good elevate our energy. Surely somebody has some stories of generosity. My Facebook feed is filled with people making masks right now.
Yeah.
And people checking on one another. Yeah, Gretchen. Restaurants donating meals.
I read yesterday in the New York Times that the Four Seasons Hotel, which of course is a beautiful, beautiful hotel in New York City, they open their doors exclusively to serve the medical care workers that are working at the hospitals. They have a safe place to go and to not worry about infecting their families. And so they have a place they can go, they can relax, and that they can call home during this time.
Someone left chocolate Easter eggs on yours and your neighbor's cars. That's lovely. Yeah, I saw a thing on Facebook also where people were, someone was putting together RVs in a community with medical workers in that community so that they could not endanger their families and still be close to home.
Love that.
Bear hunts for kids. I saw that somewhere. Robin, do you mind open up your mic for just a second and say and tell everybody about that?
Yeah, apparently there's a site, it's like town by town, and you register your stuffed animals and you'd say where they are in your house, like in your windows or whatever. And then parents are taking their kids on like a bear hunt in the town.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that's
trying to find them and checking off the boxes and stuff.
It's kind of like geoboxing, but but doing it.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I love it.
And birthday parades.
Cute.
Yeah, yesterday, I'll just add, there was apparently somebody dressed as the Easter Bunny that was driving around the neighborhood here, like outside on the back of a truck, like waving to the kids.
think that's so great.
People just finding ways to share the love. I think
Rosa
I said on
participated
the
in
last
the bear
call,
hunt and Easter egg hunt. Beautiful.
on our last call, there was a big parade in my neighborhood. They were going around the green in their cars, and people were holding up signs, "We love you, we miss you," just honking their horns and sharing the love.
I keep hearing the stories about how at 7 p.m. in a lot of our cities, when the hospital shift happens, how people are making noise and cheering and banging. And I don't live in a city, and I wish I could experience it that, because I'm sure that would just move me to tears every time I heard it. It's just beautiful.
Christy says, I'm a children's author, and a lot of us lost a massive portion of our income with our tours canceled, but numerous of my peers are recording themselves reading their books for children for free. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Christy. So the generosity that we talked about today is the gift of giving to others. Holding bear hunts and donating a bottle of wine and picking up groceries for people and throwing parades. And it's so beautiful. This generosity is so beautiful, but there is a kind, just like the self-compassion that we talked about, that didn't get mentioned. And that is the generosity of giving yourself fully. Okay. And I'm going to say that again, because I guarantee you most of you misunderstood me. Giving yourself fully. I do not mean in service necessarily. Okay, we are great as women of giving ourselves fully in love and in service. And yet we have a really hard time giving ourselves fully, meaning showing up as big and as bright and as smart and as creative and as beautiful as we each are every single day. I have behind me, this is one of my favorite posters. If you see in the back, I have a print of Matisse's Blue Nude. And those were from the Blue Nude is from his last series of work called The Cutouts. And he started creating them after he had stomach cancer. And he had a colostomy and was bedridden for months and then in a wheelchair for most of the time for the remainder of his life. And he could no longer really paint and sculpt the way that he did. And so he started making these cutouts. And he would actually employ assistants to assemble these works for him based on his work, because he couldn't do things the way he did them before. And he said of this time, and I'm going to read you the quote, "An artist should never be a prisoner of himself, prisoner of style, prisoner of reputation, prisoner of success, etc. We're each a prisoner of all of these things in our mind that say we can only be a certain way. We can't show up fully because it's not humble to show up fully. It's bragging to be out there. We can't show up fully because expectations of women are X, or we can't show up fully because our reputation is to be this person, but we really have this other thing and we hold ourselves back. And this is not generous, because you are each here to fully express yourself at your best in every way that is real to you, that is aligned with who you are and your values. And anything short of that is not generous. Does that make sense? And so I have a little tool for you today about being generous, about showing up fully. Because the world has changed. And we don't know what the outcome is going to look like yet. The outcome is still unwritten. but your outcome, no matter what, is completely within your own power. So the tool today is 5 letters. It's the word birth. You're going to give birth to this new, brighter version of yourself. 1, be quiet. Give yourself some space, meditate, stare out the window, sit still for a bit. Creativity and innovation cannot birth themselves in the noise of your mind. Allow some space to be quiet. Number 2, identify what bubbles up for you. Try not to predict what you desire, what you want. What comes up might be joy in simplicity. It might be some extraordinary thing that you feel that you're meant to do. It might be something completely in between. It doesn't matter what it is. If it truly calls to you, allow yourself space for it. Number 3, the R. Release the fears and expectations that are keeping you prisoner. Go ahead and write a little Matisse statement for yourself of all of the things that you're prisoner of style or reputation or expectation, fear of failure. Write them on little scraps of paper and burn them in your fireplace. Crumple them up and throw them out. I read a book, I can't remember who it was once. She used to write these things on coconuts and smash them in her driveway. Release those things that you're a prisoner of. 4, take intentional action every single day. Move in your new direction intentionally by taking small actions every day. And finally, hold your values in front of you like a compass as you're leaning into this bright new self, trying new things. Your values will be a compass to help you know what to do and what not to do, what serves you and what doesn't serve you. So today's tool is birth. And now we've got a little meditation along the same lines. So if you close your eyes, get comfy. Actually, get comfy first. And then close your eyes. Oh, wait. Katie. Katie said me. She's got something before the meditation.
Hi, Carol and I were exchanging about our love for music and needing it in our lives, and many DJs are putting sessions on Instagram Live, and the one we like, who's gained a lot of popularity, is DJ Nice. And DJ D Nice. So it's at D Nice on Instagram Live, and he plays sets on different days of the week and different genres of music. And a lot of different DJs are doing that. So that's really fun. It's a great break.
Thank you, Katie. That's awesome. So if Marissa, yes, awesome. Thank you. Katie put it in there. It's in the chat for you all to copy and paste. Music is so important. All right, hop into your seats, get comfy, get cozy, close your eyes, and start to bring your attention to your breath. Nice and easy. In and out. Allow yourself to breathe easily, fully. There's nothing you need to do, nothing you need to be, nowhere you need to be. Just here, together, collectively breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Allow your belly to fill on the inhale, and allow all of your muscles to melt into their natural space on each exhale. Each exhale, more fully relaxing you, letting go of anything that might be pulling on you right now. You're in a forest, and the underbrush is dense and thick. The canopy is dark above you. Little bits of sunlight shine through the trees. It's difficult to make your way. There's so much brush and grass, vines and roots. The deep smell of earth, of decaying wood, of grass and trees surrounds you. And you can feel the quiet of the forest. The animals have moved on for whatever reason, you're not sure yet. They've moved on. Rise above. You're not in it any longer. You're looking down on this forest. And you can see in one small corner a flame ignites. And as the wind blows, the fire crackles. You're not afraid of it. You can feel the warmth, you can smell the smoke, and watch as the fire spreads across the forest floor, burning the bush, the brush, some of the roots, the decaying trees, until it extinguishes itself and leaves behind a canopy of green and a floor of charred and smoking earth. Watch as the sun continues to shine and the clouds roll through and the rain falls and the sun shines and the clouds roll through and the rain falls. And through that charred floor begins a new growth. The air smells fresh, and the leaves and sprouts are poking through, and wildflowers begin to bloom in spaces that they haven't bloomed for centuries. And the bees and the butterflies come. And the animals of the forest, knowing that it's safe, come back. The forest itself has been reborn through the fire. And as you bring your attention back to your breath, allow yourself to smell the flowers, the fresh grass, the earth reborn and renewed. Rebirth always comes from chaos. Life is a continuum. We are always safe. When I count to 5, you can open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're back to Lesley.
Hi guys, I had to put in my earplugs because the guys next door, we live next door to the Teamsters. They decided they were open for business today. That's interesting. Anyway, that was amazing, Wendy. And one of the things you learn in sustainability that there are eucalyptus is one, and then there are various pine trees that can only reproduce in fire. Mm-hmm. And that's actually a big, certain plants were created that way, and they're used to the burning. And without the burning, they don't reproduce. So hopefully that will be something that we can learn. So thank you to all of you for joining me and for joining Wendy and Dana for this wonderful morning, and we will continue these. I wanted to remind you all to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and our mastermind registration is going to close at the end of today. Marissa is going to put into the chat box, for those of you who have not heard about our mastermind, it is about mastering change, and we hope that you'll join. There's a link there for you. It's called Navigating Change, Turning Life's Challenges into Extraordinary Opportunities. Dana and Wendy are guiding that mastermind. It's the first one that we're doing at Covey, and I think it's going to be amazing. We have a few spots left. For those of you who've already signed up, please get your payment in so we can hold your spot. Marissa will also put that link in there. We've been sending out some links, but I think maybe they're going to spam. So check your spam for anything from us. And then I just wanted to tell you tonight, we have a great workshop called Using Real Flower Power to Heal, Lift Your Mood, and Spread Joy with Jill Brooke. Jill is a reporter, but she reinvented herself in the flower business. And I'll show you some flowers supermarket flowers that I learned how to change into, they look like a bouquet from a different place, but I'll show it to you in a minute. And then, but you can learn this in literally an hour, which is going to be really fun. And that's tonight, 8 to 9 Eastern Standard Time. And then on Wednesday, we have a workshop called How to Thrive in Chaos with Gloria Felt, who's a really important feminist and author, and she teaches women how to lead. And Friday, we have a really great one with a woman named Sue Groner, which is called How to Deal with Your New Nest of Young Adults. She's an expert at parenting older children, and we'll work on that. And let me just show you this real quickly. And remember to bookmark for Positive Mornings, but I wanted to show you this, what this looks like. And I think my guys are gone, so I'll show you this really fast. But anyway, I learned how to do that on a video. So you can learn it also with supermarket flowers. And that's what I think will be fun tonight. So come join us. Everybody needs a break. And I also wanted to show you my fruit fly farm, which is the most important thing of ever. So if you're interested in science projects, just take a little piece. This can be any kind of paper. This happens to be parchment. And it's working. I have no more fruit flies. So with that, I will say good day and have a great day, guys. Thanks a lot for coming. Be good.
Bye all.